Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing amazing. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. And if you've been here before, thank you for coming back. Your support means the world to me. Today, I want to share something really personal, my English learning journey. Learning a new language is never easy, and English was no exception for me. But through all the struggles, mistakes, and funny moments, I kept going. And if you're learning English too, trust me, you're not alone. So stick around because I'll be sharing my story, the challenges I faced, and how I overcame them. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me create more content like this, and together we can build an awesome community of English learners. Now let's get started. I remember the first time I thought about learning English. At first, it wasn't something I took seriously. But as I grew older, I started to see how important it was. English is everywhere. On the internet, in movies, in music, and in so many job opportunities. For me, learning English was about more than just speaking another language. I wanted to connect with the world. I wanted to understand the songs I loved, watch movies without subtitles, and most importantly, communicate with people from different countries. English is like a bridge that connects cultures, and I knew that if I could learn it, so many doors would open for me. Another big reason I started learning English was career opportunities. No matter what field you're in, English can help you grow. Whether you want to work for an international company, travel, or even start your own business, English can take you further. And I knew that if I wanted to achieve my dreams, improving my English was a must. Challenges I faced in the beginning. Now, let me be honest, learning English wasn't easy at first. In fact, it was really frustrating. I didn't know where to start. There were so many grammar rules, so many words to learn, and worst of all, I was afraid of making mistakes. One of my biggest challenges was speaking confidently. I could understand some English, but when it was time to speak, my mind would go blank. I would worry about my accent, my grammar, and whether people would understand me. That fear held me back for a long time. Another struggle was learning new words and grammar. English has so many words that look similar but have different meanings. And don't even get me started on phrasal verbs. They were so confusing in the beginning. Also, at first, I didn't know how to practice. Should I study grammar books, watch English videos, listen to podcasts? I felt overwhelmed because there were so many methods, but I didn't know which one was best for me. But despite all these challenges, I didn't give up. I kept pushing forward, and slowly, I started to improve. And in the next part of my story, I'll tell you exactly how I overcame these challenges and what worked best for me. So if you're also struggling with English, don't worry, you're not alone. Just keep going, and I promise things will get easier. If you enjoyed this video so far, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow, and I'd love to hear about your own English learning journey in the comments. What challenges have you faced? What motivates you to learn English? Let's talk about it below. Stay tuned for the next part, where I'll share the best tips that helped me learn faster and more effectively. See you soon. When I first decided to learn English, I had no idea where to start. There were so many options, books, classes, apps, videos, but I wasn't sure what would work best for me. Since I didn't have access to formal English classes at first, I decided to try self-study. One of my first learning methods was watching English movies and TV shows. I started with subtitles in my native language, but I quickly realized that I wasn't really learning much. So I switched to English subtitles, which helped me connect words to their pronunciation. At first, I couldn't understand everything, but little by little, I started picking up common words and phrases. Next, I tried listening to English songs. Music was a big part of my daily life, so I thought, why not use it to learn English? I would listen to a song, find the lyrics, and try to sing along. It was fun, and it helped me with pronunciation and new vocabulary. Some songs were difficult to understand, but I kept practicing. Then I discovered language learning apps like Duolingo and Memrise. These apps helped me with basic vocabulary and sentence structure. They were easy to use and felt like a game, which made learning more enjoyable. Another big step was reading English books. At first, I started with children's books because they had simple sentences and easy words. As I got more comfortable, I moved on to short stories and articles. Reading helped me understand grammar naturally without memorizing too many complicated rules. Eventually, I started writing in English, too. I kept a small journal where I would write about my day, my thoughts, or even just new words I learned. It was a great way to practice and track my progress over time. Early struggles in learning English. While these methods helped me get started, I also faced many difficulties in the beginning. One of the biggest struggles was pronunciation. English words didn't always sound the way they looked. For example, words like knife and knee confused me because the K was silent. And don't even get me started on words like thought, though, and through. They all looked similar but had different pronunciations. Another challenge was understanding spoken English. Native speakers talked so fast, and it felt impossible to catch every word. Even when I knew the words, I couldn't recognize them in conversation because they blended together. Grammar was also tricky for me. English has many rules, and some of them didn't make sense to me at first. I often got confused between he goes and he go, or I have been and I was. There were so many verb tenses, and I didn't know when to use each one. Building vocabulary was another struggle. I would learn new words but forget them quickly. I realized that memorizing long lists of words wasn't very helpful. I needed to use the words in real-life situations to remember them. Finally, one of the hardest things was speaking confidently. I was so afraid of making mistakes that I didn't want to speak at all. I worried that people would laugh at my accent or that I would say something wrong. This fear held me back for a long time. Despite these challenges, I kept pushing forward. I reminded myself that making mistakes was a natural part of learning. The more I practiced, the better I got. In the next part of my story, I'll talk about the key turning points in my learning journey and the best techniques that helped me improve faster. So, if you're also learning English and struggling with pronunciation, vocabulary, or confidence, don't worry. You're not alone. Learning English felt slow in the beginning. I was studying hard, but I didn't always notice improvements. I sometimes wondered, am I really getting better? But then, a few key moments changed everything for me. One of my biggest breakthroughs happened when I watched a movie in English without subtitles, and I actually understood most of it. Before, I always needed subtitles to follow along. But one day, I was watching a simple English movie, and I realized I was understanding the conversations without reading. That was a huge confidence boost. Another big moment was when I had my first real conversation in English. I had been practicing by myself for a long time, but I was always nervous to speak. Then one day I met a traveler who only spoke English. At first I hesitated, but then I decided to try. I spoke slowly, made a few mistakes, but I was able to communicate. That moment made me realize that I didn't need to be perfect. I just needed to be understood. Reading was also a game changer for me. The first time I read a short story in English and understood it without translating every word, I felt amazing. It showed me that my vocabulary was growing and I was thinking in English more naturally. The best learning techniques that helped me improve after these breakthrough moments, I wanted to learn even faster. I tried different techniques and found a few that really worked for me. 1. Speaking every day. I realized that the more I spoke, the more confident I became. Even if I didn't have someone to practice with, I would talk to myself in English, describing my day, my thoughts, or what I was doing. This helped me think in English instead of translating from my native language. 2. Watching TV shows without subtitles. At first, I used English subtitles, but over time I challenged myself to watch without them. This forced me to listen more carefully and understand words from context. I started with simple shows and then moved on to more advanced ones. 3. Using flashcards for vocabulary. Memorizing new words was difficult at first, but using flashcards made it easier. I used apps like Anki and Quizlet to review words every day. The key was not just memorizing the words, but using them in sentences. 4. Talking with native speakers. Once I built some confidence, I started looking for language exchange partners. I used apps like Tandem and HelloTalk to chat with native English speakers. Talking to real people made my learning more natural and fun. 5. Writing every day. Writing helped me improve my grammar and vocabulary. I started a small English journal where I wrote about my day, thoughts, and goals. Sometimes I would even write short stories. This helped me think in English and express myself better. 6. Listening to podcasts and audiobooks. To improve my listening skills, I started listening to English podcasts and audiobooks. At first, it was hard to follow, but over time, my ears got used to the language and I could understand more. Some of my favorite podcasts were about language learning, motivation, and personal growth. These techniques helped me break through my learning plateaus and improve much faster. If you're struggling with English, don't worry. It's part of the journey. Just keep practicing, and soon, you'll have your own breakthrough moments. Handling mistakes and frustrations. One of the hardest parts of learning English was dealing with mistakes. In the beginning, I was so afraid of saying something wrong that I avoided speaking altogether. I worried that people would laugh at me, or that I would embarrass myself. But over time, I realized that mistakes are a natural part of learning. I remember one time I tried to order food in English, and I completely mispronounced the dish. The waiter looked confused and I felt embarrassed. But instead of giving up, I laughed it off and tried again. That moment taught me an important lesson. It's okay to make mistakes. To overcome this fear, I changed my mindset. Instead of seeing mistakes as failures, I started seeing them as opportunities to learn. Every time I made a mistake, I asked myself, what can I learn from this? And you know what? That made learning much easier. How I handled grammar and pronunciation mistakes. Recording. Myself, I started recording my voice while speaking English. At first, it was uncomfortable, but it helped me hear my mistakes and improve my pronunciation. Practicing with native speakers. I joined online language exchanges and spoke with real people. They corrected me in a friendly way, and I learned a lot from those conversations. Focusing on communication, not perfection. I realized that being understood is more important than being perfect. Even native speakers make mistakes sometimes. But frustration didn't only come from speaking. Sometimes I would forget words I had just learned or struggle to understand fast conversations. I often felt stuck and thought, why am I not improving? These moments were tough, but I learned a few tricks to keep going. Staying motivated. During tough times, there were days when I felt like quitting. Learning English is a long journey, and sometimes progress felt slow. But I found ways to stay motivated and keep pushing forward. 1. Setting small, achievable goals. Instead of saying, I want to be fluent, I set small, realistic goals like learning 10 new words each week, watching a short video without subtitles, and understanding the main idea, writing a small paragraph in English every day, speaking English for 5 minutes a day, even if it was just talking to myself. These small wins kept me motivated because they showed me that I was improving little by little. 2. Tracking my progress. One of the best things I did was keeping a learning journal. Every week, I would write down new words I learned, sentences I struggled with, things I could now understand that I couldn't before. Looking back at my journal reminded me of how far I had come. It gave me confidence and made me excited to keep going. 3. Finding inspiration from others. Whenever I felt stuck, I looked for stories of other English learners who had succeeded. Seeing people who started at my level and became fluent was so inspiring. I followed YouTube channels, podcasts, and blogs about language learning. Listening to other people's experiences reminded me that struggles are normal and progress takes time. 4. Making learning fun. The biggest mistake I made at the beginning was trying to learn English only through textbooks. It felt boring and made me lose interest. But then I found ways to make learning fun and exciting. Watching movies and TV shows I loved. Playing word games and language apps like Duolingo. Learning songs in English and singing along. Reading stories and comic books instead of boring grammar books. Once learning became fun, I stopped feeling like I was studying all the time. Instead, English became a part of my daily life. Overcoming challenges in English learning wasn't easy, but every struggle made me stronger. The key is to stay patient, keep practicing, and never give up. If you're feeling frustrated with English, don't worry, you're not alone. We all go through ups and downs, but if you keep going, you'll improve. Learning English was a slow process, but over time I started noticing real improvements. At first I struggled with basic conversations, understanding fast speech and writing correctly. But through consistent practice, everything gradually became easier. One of the first areas where I noticed progress was listening comprehension. In the beginning, English sounded too fast, and I couldn't catch individual words. But after months of watching English movies, listening to podcasts, and practicing with native speakers, I started recognizing words and understanding the overall meaning of conversations. Now, I can watch English content without subtitles and follow along with ease. My speaking skills also improved significantly. At first, I was afraid to talk because I didn't want to make mistakes. But after practicing daily, whether by talking to myself, joining language exchanges, or speaking with friends, I gained confidence. Now, I can hold conversations without overthinking, and I don't panic when I make mistakes. When it came to reading, I started with simple books and articles. At first, I had to translate many words, but as my vocabulary grew, reading became much more enjoyable. Now I can read full books and understand most of the content without needing a dictionary. Writing was one of the hardest skills to improve, but keeping a daily journal and writing short essays helped me a lot. Over time, my grammar improved and I made fewer mistakes. I can now write emails, messages, and even longer texts in English without hesitation. One of my biggest achievements was having a full conversation with a native English speaker without feeling nervous. In the past, I would freeze or struggle to find the right words, but one day, I realized I was speaking naturally without overthinking. That moment gave me so much confidence. Another proud achievement was watching a full English movie without subtitles and understanding almost everything. It was proof that my listening skills had improved a lot. I also reached a point where I could help other learners. Friends started asking me for advice, and I could explain grammar rules or correct their pronunciation. That made me realize how much progress I had made. Passing a language proficiency test was another milestone. I studied hard, and when I finally got my results, I felt proud of how far I had come. Looking back, the progress wasn't instant, but every small step added up. The key was consistency, patience, and never giving up. After years of learning and practicing, my English skills have improved significantly. I can now have conversations with native speakers without hesitation, understand most English content without subtitles, and express myself clearly in writing. However, I wouldn't say I'm completely fluent. There's always room for improvement. One challenge I still face is understanding fast, informal speech, especially when native speakers use slang or talk quickly. Sometimes in group conversations, I miss a few words and have to guess the meaning. But compared to when I first started, my listening skills have improved a lot. Another area I'm still working on is expanding my vocabulary. I can communicate well, but I want to learn more advanced and natural expressions. To improve, I continue reading books, listening to podcasts, and engaging with native speakers as much as possible. Even though I still make mistakes, I don't let them stop me. Instead of worrying about being perfect, I focus on communicating effectively. The more I use English in my daily life, the more confident I become. How English impacts my life. Learning English has completely changed my life. It has opened up so many opportunities that I wouldn't have had otherwise. One of the biggest benefits is in my career. Many job opportunities require English, and because of my skills, I can now communicate with international clients, attend meetings in English, and even apply for positions that were once out of reach. Beyond work, English has connected me with people from all over the world. I've made new friends, joined online communities, and learned about different cultures. It feels amazing to be able to talk to people from different backgrounds and share ideas without language barriers. English has also given me access to so much knowledge. I can now read books, watch videos, and follow the latest news without waiting for translations. This has helped me grow as a person and understand the world better. Looking ahead, I know my English learning journey isn't over. I'll keep improving, learning new words, and practicing every day. But I'm proud of how far I've come, and I'm excited for the new opportunities that learning English will continue to bring. Learning English has been an incredible journey, but I know there's always more to learn. Even though I've made great progress, I still have new goals and challenges ahead. In this section, I'll share my plans for continued learning and give some advice to others who are also on this path. One of my main goals is to become even more fluent and natural in conversations. While I can communicate well, I still want to improve my pronunciation, learn more advanced expressions, and feel even more confident in fast-paced discussions. To achieve this, I plan to practice speaking with native speakers more often, whether through language exchange apps or real-life conversations. Watch more advanced English content without subtitles to improve my listening skills further. Work on my pronunciation and accent by mimicking native speakers and practicing tricky sounds. Another goal is to expand my vocabulary, especially in specific areas like business English, storytelling, and professional communication. I want to be able to express myself with more precision and sound even more natural. To do this, I will read more books, articles, and blogs in English. Keep a vocabulary notebook and use new words in daily conversations. Challenge myself to write more complex texts, like essays and reports. I also want to immerse myself in an English-speaking environment as much as possible. If I get the chance, I would love to travel to an English-speaking country or even work in an international setting where I have to use English daily. For anyone learning English, my biggest advice is to never give up. Learning a language takes time, and sometimes progress feels slow. But if you stay consistent, you will improve, even if you don't notice it right away. Here are a few things that helped me, and might help you too. 1. Make English a part of your daily life. Watch, listen, read, and speak in English every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. The more you expose yourself to the language, the faster you'll improve. 2. Don't be afraid of mistakes. Everyone makes them. Instead of feeling embarrassed, learn from them and keep going. 3. Set small, achievable goals. Instead of saying, "I want to be fluent," break it down into steps, like, "I will learn 10 new words this week," or "I will speak in English for 5 minutes every day." 4. Find fun ways to learn. If studying feels boring, change your method. Watch movies, play games, listen to music. Learning should be enjoyable. 5. Surround yourself with English. Join online communities, talk to native speakers, and make English-speaking friends. The more you use the language, the more natural it will feel. Now it's your turn. What are your future goals for learning English? Share them in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to support this channel. Your support helps me create more content to help you on your English learning journey. See you in the next video.